And if we can ask for a little quiet, please, so we can have our invocation. Thank you. To give our invocation this morning, the chair recognizes the Reverend Owen Gowans of Mount Moriah Temple Baptist Church. He is here today as the guest of Councilwoman Blondell Reynolds Brown. I would ask all members, guests, and visitors to please rise.
Good morning.
Morning.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come again this morning just to give you glory and thanks. God, we just thank you that you allowed us to plant our feet on solid ground. God, now as we come for this session of council, we ask that you bless the council members, God, from President Clark on down. God, we just thank you for council and all that they do. God, we ask your blessings upon those that are visiting today. God, we know the struggles of life. We know the challenges and the issues that we deal with. But God, we just turn it over to you. We do bless your name and praise your name. We give you glory and thanks. Continue to watch over this city. Continue to watch over the residents. Continue to bless this nation. God, we do love you and praise you, for it's in Jesus' name we pray. And the people of God said amen,
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 amen.
and amen. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Pastor, for those inspiring words. Council will be at ease. Again, Reverend, thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here today. Our next order of business is the approval of the journal of the meeting of Thursday, March 28, 2019, and the chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, March 28, 2019 be approved.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly seconded that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, March 28, 2019 stand approved. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that journal is approved. And our next order of business is request for leave of absence. And the chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the majority, there are no requests of leave of absence today.
Chair thanks the gentleman. Chair now recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Republicans, there are no requests for leave of absence.
Chair thanks the gentleman. At this time, I would like to dispense with the regular order of business, and I would like to thank everyone who has taken time out of their busy day to witness their government in action. We genuinely appreciate you being here today. We hope that your stay here today is a knowledgeable one, but more importantly, a pleasurable one, so much so that you come back again. Again, thank you so much for being here. At this time, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell, who will present a resolution recognizing Lynne Carter. After that. Yeah. Would Ms. Carter and those accompanying her please join the councilwoman at the podium? And joining Councilwoman Blackwell, we have Councilwoman Parker,
That's a fan club.
Councilwoman Bass, Councilwoman Gim, Councilman Heenan, and Councilman Green. And Councilman Dom.
Oh, wait, let me get my family then.
Oh, yeah, no, your family has to be here.
Oh, yeah.
This is part of the fun.
Oh, it's
Is that George Henson?
George Hanson. Tell the family.
Yeah, especially your family. Oh, my goodness. I don't know if we can fit all those people on here. Hello.
And my neighbors and my family. This is wonderful. I'm asking what you coming back to go back over there. Some can stand in the front. Some can stand in the front.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think
Oh, wait, come on.
Oh, my goodness. This is really fun.
This is all my family right there.
Well, your family should definitely be up here.
Be in the front.
Yes.
Let me tell you. Should I tell them to stand in the front?
Yes, yes.
Stand in the front.
Mr. President, tell me what the Boxing Hall of Fame doesn't mean in Philadelphia.
yeah. Councilwoman, it means we need a bigger stage. I tell you, this is great.
I'm telling you, yes, indeed. We are honored. We want to recognize some people. I have a little list. I don't have them all because Judge Jackie Frazier Light is standing right in front of me. And we are so happy to have some of those, and you let us know so that if I don't mention you, tell Lynn. She'll make sure she mentions you. Champ Tim Witherspoon. Champion Nate Miller. Boxing promoter Vernoka Michaels, Blue Horizon. We all know her. Boxing writer George Hanson. Even from college, Elmer Smith, former Daily News editor, who's been honored here in this council.
And Ken Hissner, boxing writer Ken Hissner.
Say it, who?
And boxing writer Ken Hissner. He's from the Pennsylvania Boxing Hall of Fame.
All right, at the end, Mr. President, we'll ask that John DeSanto and Elmer Smith make remarks along with Lynn, if that's all right, Mr. President.
Absolutely.
And that took a long time to narrow that down, I'm telling you. We are so honored to present this resolution recognizing and honoring Lynne Carter for her momentous induction into the Pennsylvania Boxing Hall of Fame. You all know this reminds me of Lucian Blackwell. Just cannot help it. Whereas in February of 2019, Lynne Carter was inducted into the Pennsylvania Boxing Hall of Fame, man.
Whereas a Philadelphia native, Lynne Carter has a career in boxing for over 35 years. She was an apprentice under Commissioner James J. Binns, Executive Secretary Francis Walker, and Chief Inspector Charles Campbell. She was trained by Smokin' Joe Frazier, former heavyweight champion of the world, and Carol Paulus, the first female boxing judge in the United States, on the basics of boxing. And
whereas in 1982, she became one of the first females to start judging in Philadelphia, and later became licensed in New Jersey. Her goal was to work in Atlantic City, even though at the time that was a challenging task in a male-dominated field. And
whereas during her career, Lynne has had to overcome many obstacles. Her knowledge of the sport would be questioned because of her gender. However, Lynne did not let the negativity of other people stop her ambition. And
whereas Lynne's reputation grew with time and she established herself as one of the elite judges of the sport. She was the first female to judge a fight in Connecticut. She was the first African-American female to judge a fight in New Jersey. Additionally, she was the first African-American female to judge for the World Boxing Association, the World Boxing Organization, and the World Boxing Union.
And whereas I've been waiting almost 40 years to stand here, whereas Lynne has judged over 750 boxing matches across 6 different continents. She has judged many world title matches, including Johns Hopkins 1, Judah Wrangle, Ademic Gunn, Gamgoa Solis, Ibragima Briggs, as well as many other non-title fights. And
whereas Lynne has received many awards and accolades for her work, in addition to being inducted into Pennsylvania Boxing Hall of Fame this year, in 2012, Lynne was inducted into the New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame. And
whereas Lynne has crossed paths with many legends in the sport, she herself has become a legend in her own right. She has paved the road for other women to enter into the boxing arena, in the boxing world. She has trained, she has assisted upcoming female apprentices in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and she will continue to be her best and strive for more.
And whereas Lynne Carter, 8th District resident, 22nd Ward Committee person, now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the City of Philadelphia hereby recognizes and honors Lynne Carter for her momentous induction into the Pennsylvania Boxing Hall of Fame. Further resolved that an engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to Lynne Carter as a sincere expression of the Council of the City of Philadelphia's gratitude, admiration, and recognition. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Corte, too. I see you. They come from here and far.
Councilwoman Blackwell, you want Ms. Carter to speak first, or you want the other individuals?
No, she wants to speak
Ms. Smith? Okay. Mr. Smith.
Hello, everyone. I'm John DeSanto from the Pennsylvania Boxing Hall of Fame, and we're obviously all here to celebrate Lynne. She's truly had an historic career, more than 35 years judging, as you've heard, judging important fights all over the world. And as a result, next month, May 19th, she will be officially inducted into the Pennsylvania Boxing Hall of Fame. Lynne made it through the ballot process, and her name was on the ballot, and she received the most votes in her category, which is the non-boxer category. And this is a very tough category because boxing judges compete with managers who compete with trainers and cutmen and everyone that doesn't actually put on the gloves. So it's a very competitive category, and it's an honor very well deserved. Lynne's been at it for, as we said, more than 35 years, and she's going strong. So she's still got a long ways to go in this business. So anyway, so congratulations, Lynne.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you for this opportunity to come here and say something about my friend. Lynne and I don't see each other as much as we used to when I was still in the boxing game. But if I was to characterize her friendship in any way, I would say 2 words: ever and always. If she was ever your friend, she was always your friend. She's always my friend, but she's somebody who, when I left this chamber years ago as a city council reporter and went into sports and covered boxing, I expected that I was in a business that is not necessarily distinguished by its integrity. Lynne Carter represented real integrity. I remember when she started. I remember when Smokin' Joe was working with her, and Carol, Eva Shane, and others who preceded her. And I just knew from the first time I met her that she had the kind of character and integrity that would stand her in good stead in a business that was bereft of both, to be frank about it. And she's done it and been everything that I assumed that she would be. She's carried She's carried herself with dignity and distinction, and she is one of the best boxing judges that I've seen across the years. Those of you who know me know that I'm a feminist. And so, to some extent, what we are celebrating here is a victory for feminism over the years. I remember when Lynne started, and you weren't supposed to be doing this. This is not a job for a woman, especially a woman who did not grow up in that sort of rough and tumble world of boxing. But she comported herself so well. She's distinguished herself over the years. And I'm honored to have this chance to say a few words in her behalf. For my friend. Take care.
And the chair recognizes Ms. Carter for remarks.
First, I'd like to say thank you to Council President Darrell Clark, Councilwoman Jannie Blackwell, and all members of City Council, okay? This is such an honor. You're talking about, wow, I came here with a speech. I think I forgot it, okay? I'm so excited. I'm so excited with so many people that have come out to support me, you know, in this boxing world. My friends, my family, my neighbors from Vernon House, you know, and it's just overwhelming right now. But I just want to tell you a little bit about me, you know, and how I got started. I was young, I was in my 20s, and I decided I had to look for a job. So a friend of mine, we were looking for this job, and prior to that, I had gone to the fights with 4 brothers, okay? And I liked it, and I picked the winner of the fights. So they said, you know, wow, you're pretty good. So I said, okay, I'm pretty good at picking these winners. So since I'm looking for a job, I went up to the State Athletic Commission right out of nowhere and said, listen, I want to be a judge. And they tried to discourage me a little bit. And I said, no, I want to be a judge. And so they said, well, where are you going to train? I didn't know nowhere to train because I didn't know nobody in that, okay? And so the only place I knew was Smoking Joe Frazier's gym that was on Broad Street. So I said, okay, we took the subway up there. We went up to Smoking Joe Frazier's. And I walked into the secretary, and I said, excuse me, but I'd like to speak to Joe Frazier. And I guess she said, well, who is this girl coming up here to speak to Joe Frazier? And she says, well, what is this? I said, listen, I want to be a boxing judge, and I want Joe Frazier to train me. And she probably thought I was crazy. Well, Joe wouldn't come out at first, and then he did come out. And then the funny part about it was, the secretary, Joe asked me a question about champion, and he said, what do you think? Do you think they'll be a good champion? And I was going to say yes. And she was behind him saying, no. So I said, no, of course not. He said, and I'm going to train you. He said, I don't like judges, I don't like referees, and I don't like announcers, but I'm going to train you. And you know what? And that's how it started. I went to that gym religiously for 3 or 4 days a week. And it was a very, very popular gym. Everybody was coming to Joe Frazier's in. I didn't pay no attention to none of that. I came there to learn, to find out what I had to do, because I know I was breaking into a man's world, and it's truly a man's world. And he trained me. He did everything. He trained me on the basics of boxing. He made me get in the ring and act like I'm boxing with him, and he showed me all the basics. And once I did that and got my license in New Jersey, my license in Philadelphia, my goal was New Jersey. I got that license in Philadelphia in 3 months. I was in New Jersey in September, and then it began. I was so nervous the first fight that I did. I mean, so nervous that it was a glass in front of me. And I went to get that glass to have a drink of water. I couldn't even reach it. I could not reach that glass. I said, oh my God. But when the bell rang, I got, that was it. And then them people that came to the fights in New Jersey on the Tropicana on Tuesday night fights, they were the worst. What's that young girl know up there? What she know about boxing? I'm like, oh my God. So that made me even nervous. I'm the only female down here. They treat me, I got to sit downstairs and wait. I can't go with the guys in the room. I had to do everything separate because I was the only female and the first black female in there. So it was something, okay? But once I got started, now, like I said, I was nervous then. Now I can walk in the room. Hey, y'all, what's up? You know what I'm saying? So that meant such a difference. But I wanted to say a couple of the highlights that took place in my life with boxing. Boxing has been very, very good to me, okay? It has allowed me to travel around the world, the places that I would never see. You know what I'm saying? I got my favorite places are like Japan and China and Italy and South Africa. You know, it has done this for me, and the good part is you get paid. You know, you meet everybody, you see all these people out there, you meet some of the best people in the world, and you get paid, okay? And another highlight was, one of my other favorite highlights is, I got in 1984, I got a letter from the Philadelphia Bar Association, and they were honoring pioneers, you know, women pioneers. So I wasn't going to go to that. I was working, I wasn't going to go. I said, well, let me go right here and get some lunch. So I didn't even invite anybody. I had 2 tickets, because I'm kind of low profile. I don't really say a whole lot about what I do, or whatever the case may be. Matter of fact, my family probably don't know all the stuff that took place with me. But anyway, I said, let me go around here. So I went around there, and there was all these people there from the Bar Association. And the people that they were honoring, it was the first female black gynecologist, Dr. Helen Dickens. It was Mae Jemison, the first female astronaut, and it was Lynne Carter. I'm like, what? So the funny part is, all the time that I've been judging boxing, I never, you know, I'm low-keyed with it. So half the people, like I said, don't know, you know, because I don't never talk about it. You know, I never talk about it. So I'm like nervous right now. So many, it's, so the other thing too was like being trained by Joe Frazier. I didn't realize that that was such a big deal, but he was such an icon, you know, and him and I got such a good relationship. That's how I met Jackie, okay, and Pete and all these people in boxing. They have great people in boxing, you know, and even today, I have to say this, because we have some people that came down today from New York, okay, Robin and Eddie and Jean Grant, they're judges and referees from New York, okay? Bernard just texted me and said last night and said, Lynn, I'm not gonna be able to come, I'm still in LA, you know. Larry Hazard was supposed to come and say a few words. He said, Lynn, we got this big fight next week I gotta get ready for it, and he has to get it situated because Rhonda's going. But those people were coming out just like people today. I am so thankful for everybody that came out to support me today. Y'all have no idea how elated I am about all this. I mean, we got a crowd up in here, don't we? You told me we got a crowd up here. So I won't hold you too much longer. But what I do have to say, y'all, I'm trying to tell you, I tried to train women and tried to say, listen, I'll teach you, because I would like to see more women. We only have 9 women in the world, okay? We have 9 women in the world, and I'm thankful for being the first to be able and to do a lot of these things, you know, in all the world organizations and this and that, and now I give seminars the whole 9 yards. Who would have thought this? I never thought boxing would have brought me here. I never thought, because my favorite sport is basketball. So I never thought. So I just want to say thank you to everybody. Thanks for all my friends. Thanks for my family. Thanks for just everybody that came down from out of town. It is just a blessing. And I want to say thank you, Jesus. You hear me? So thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Council Biddies. Thank you, and again, congratulations. At this time, Chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Together with you, I wanted to welcome 20 students from Friends Select School. They're up in the balcony to our left here, watching our government in action, one of the fine schools in the
Please
city.
stand.
So I wonder if you recognize them.
Thank you for coming down. Appreciate you
Thank
being
you.
here today. Chair recognizes Councilman Dom.
Thank you, Mr. President. For too long, Mr. President, my colleagues and I, who are loyal Philadelphia fans, have been subject to a fan among us who supports a non-Philadelphia team. Today, that will change. Support our Philadelphia teams, whether it's the Phillies, the Sixers, the Eagles, the Flyers, all Philadelphia teams. So I'd like to call upon William Foster to please remove his Dallas Cowboys hat and replace it with a Philadelphia sports team hat.
Oh my God. That's great.
Alan, good job. Good job. Well done.
Oh my God. Thank you.
It's also off-season, so.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Lee,
No, it's playoffs.
next week you will be inducted to the Cameraman's Hall of Fame. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Councilman. This time, Chair recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Yes, Mr. President. At this time, I would like to ask for a standing moment of silence. Councilman David O's mother passed away on Friday. She was 98.
Thank you. We all please stand. Our condolences, Councilman. God bless. Thank you. At this time, the chair recognizes Councilman Jones, who will present a resolution recognizing Ron Wilch. Would Mr. Wilch and those accompanying him please join the councilman at the podium?
Ladies and gentlemen, Ron Wilch, a proud resident of the 8th Councilmatic District, once said that the suit won't make the man, but the suit will make the interview. Said, dress for the job you want, not the job you have, and taught a lot of people in this room that, want to claim it, how to build a wardrobe. And for a lot of people who came from inner cities where that wasn't the norm, he said, and I'll do it in my Ron Wilch voice, first you must have your blue suit. It must be red, white, and blue. White shirt, striped tie, and blue suit. And then you build your browns, and then you build your stripes, and then you build your wardrobe. And for me, some years ago, that was a very important lesson because I was a poor boy from West Philly, and we didn't talk about those things. But Mr. Welch and his lovely family, and particularly his wife Julie, took that concept around the world as an ambassador for the city of Philadelphia and the fashion industry. He went and traveled the worldwide from China to Chinatown, from the far east to the far northeast, where he taught in prisons. He taught not only the art of tailoring, but the art of fashion, and took it to a new height all the way up to Madison Avenue from Philadelphia prisons. From fashion montage, which was always in Germantown, to boys to bosses. And just a second to talk about that, how that building of a wardrobe for a young person on their first interview was critical. You only have one chance to make a first impression. And if you choose to make that impression, making a statement and having clothing that is unacceptable, then that is a conscious decision, but to make sure that it wasn't an unconscious decision. And that is what I've always loved about them. And as you can see behind me, all of the people, well-dressed people here, always follow Julie's and Ron Wilch, the fashion czar's advice. So I'm here recognizing and honoring Ron Wilch and his family, who have risen to become the biggest forces in Philadelphia fashion industry. Whereas Philadelphia has long been a leader in design and manufacturing of textiles and wearing apparel, with many notable Philadelphia designers making significant contributions to this industry for the past 20 years in Philadelphia. He has been the host of many notable fashion events, including Paris and Philadelphia, all right, Fashion Montage, Philly Fashion Expo, and Fashion is an Art. And I'll also mention a less famous member of his family named Eve, right? Because y'all the first, right? Whereas
Ron Wilch of the 8th Council District has become one of the biggest forces in the Philadelphia fashion industry. He has been designing and involved in the fashion industry for over 35 years. And whereas, in addition to creating designs for his own clothing line, Ron Wilch Collection, he operates his business, the Wardrobe Clinic, located at 1500 Walnut Street in the heart of Center City. A few notable celebrities in his client list include Eddie Murphy, Will Smith, and Katy Perry. And
whereas not only is Ron Wilch a fashion icon, his wife Julie, his right arm, Julie Welch, is a well-known fashion show producer and has served as the backstage manager for Philly Fashion Week for the past 10 years. I might add, she's a fabulous model on the runway, too. Her daughter, Grammy award-winning music artist Eve, is admired for her profound sense of style and was the creator and driving force behind the Fetish brand. Mr. Welch's son, Farad, is that correct? Farad Welch is also making a mark on the fashion industry through his private label fashion brand, Motion, Businessman, making the Welch family leaders in the Philadelphia fashion industry. And
whereas in 2017, Philadelphia Magazine acknowledged Ron Wilch's outstanding work in fashion at the Wardrobe Clinic, declaring him Best Tailor in their annual Best of Philly issue, and whereas Mr. Wilch routinely gives back to his fashion roots by hosting a fashion networking event, Fashion Night Out, which gives an opportunity for both established and emerging designers to showcase and market their brands on a larger platform. As a result of this increased exposure, employment in the manufacturing industry in Philadelphia is on the rise. Now, therefore, be it
resolved by the Council of the City of Philadelphia that it hereby recognizes and honors Ron Wilch and his family as the first fashion family of Philadelphia for all they do to encourage the growth of Philadelphia's fashion industry. Further resolved that an engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to Ron Wilch as evidence of the sincere admiration and respect of this legislative body. Congratulations.
And the chair recognizes Mr. Wilch for remarks.
I want to thank you, thank the council, thank you, Council President, thank you, Councilman Jones and Cindy Bass and all. Listen, this is such an honor. I'm very emotional right now. So I want to say this. I'm born and raised in Philadelphia. I had the opportunity to leave Philadelphia many times, Chicago, St. Louis. But I stayed. When Wilson Good was the mayor and Philadelphia Addresses the World was building, I was a part of that. First time in 1987. That year I met my wife. I won the award for excellence. That year later, in 92, we did Paris and Philadelphia at the Academy of Music. First show for myself and the first show for her to produce. 300 people showed up. Sold out crowd. I was honored. We had other designers. We never charged designers. We always promote designers. We always promoted the industry. Because I know I'm born and raised in Philadelphia. I worked in Bockley 500, Fishman and Tobin's, Sycheck and Sons, these vacant factory buildings. I lost jobs from job to job. I know how I feel to get laid off doing piecework, Wonder Boy. But my skill in tailoring, I want to thank my teacher who passed away, Christopher Ramsey, from Thomas A. Edison High School. My pattern and design teacher, Michael Pedalino, who passed away. He taught me pattern making. For those two men gave me the skill to dress some famous people. I'm called constantly to LA and other places to do things. But now I want to take it further. I'm 58 years old. And what I have learned, I must pass on. So we did a deal a couple days ago. Can I say this, Councilman?
Let them know.
We just did a deal. I have dedicated from this day forward to invest my time and money and equipment into public schools. We're going to do... We just did a deal with Overbrook. Overbrook, we're going to start a summer camp in May, free of charge to the kids, but the neighborhood adults is allowed to come and learn the basic sewing, how to put on buttons. You'd be surprised that people can't sew on a button today. And it's a shame. So what I have learned in my 36 years in the industry is to give it back to young people, because our young people are the driving force in the fashion industry. We must put the trades back in high school. I know corporate sponsors want to give money, but they don't have the opportunity, they don't know how. So I'm going after corporate dollars. I'm going after bailout banks who got the bailout money in 2008. I'm going after corporations who have big box stores in our neighborhood and give nothing back. I am determined to create jobs. I am determined to leave something behind. I am determined to leave a legacy. So, I promised my mother in 1979, when I told her, I said, Mom, I like this tailoring thing in high school. Because my brother here, Sherman, Sherman, this was my example of how to dress.
Yes, sir.
My father was coming and going, but he was my example how to dress. My big brother, he has the perfect closet. Sweater was perfectly neat. Shoes with he had shoe trees in his shoes. Tailored suits, silk and wool slacks. And I asked my mother, I said, Mom, I want to wear what Sherman has. And he said, Mom, Ronald can't wear this because this is tailor-made. I'm like, why are, it's telling, meaning that it's made just for your specification, your size, your measurements. At that time, I was taller than him. That means I was too tall for his pants. But I promised my mother when I was in high school, I said, Mom, if you buy me a sewing machine, you wouldn't have to buy me no clothes. And a week later, in '79, she took me to 12th and Cherry, Arrow sewing machine, a black Singer, I still have it. And from that day forward, I never looked back. So, I like what I do. I like to look sharp. I like to teach fashion. But now I'm on another level. I'm going to teach product designing, product development, product packaging, marketing. I'm known in 50 states and 4 countries. I got friends around the world. So, young people is my mission.
Speak about the young people.
They want to be trained, they want a job, but I'm going to teach them self-employment. Because I know in politics it's hard to create jobs out of thin air, right? You got to have budgets, you got to set law. But if I could teach you how to pin up a suit, how to take measurements, how you could show a person fabric and show them how to style and dress, you become a self-employed worker instantly. I know Macy's and department stores looking for fitters and stylers. Because most people in those department stores, they don't know how to fit you up, they don't know how to pin you up, they don't know how to take your measurements. But imagine young kids coming out of high school can measure you up, come in your office, pin up your suit, mark you for your alterations, bag it up, bring it to the factory, bring it to the Overbrook, do the alteration and deliver it back to you in a quality package at a reasonable price. And it's for a good cause. They're not stealing, they're not robbing. They're looking sharp with their pants pulled up. We got to set examples. My wife and I, we produce shows. We're going to do fundraisers for events, for good causes. We're going to raise money. I'm going to reach out to Hollywood. I'm going to reach out to Eddie Murphy. I'm reaching out to Will Smith. I'm going to reach out to everybody I know. Put money back. Put your name, put your brand. Let us develop something for you with our kids designing it. I want young kids in high school designing new uniforms for the police department. We need new uniforms for the correctional officers. We need uniforms for charter schools and public schools. They should not be wearing the same old uniform that's made in China. China don't pay no taxes here. China don't pay no taxes here. Every uniform that the public and taxpayer spend on police uniforms, correctional uniforms, sheriff uniforms, school uniforms should be made in Philadelphia. If we have contracts in Philadelphia making uniforms for police officers in prisons, that's creating jobs overnight. All we got to do is get a vacant building and some machines. Look, I used to train blind people over in Jersey, best work industry for the blind. I trained blind people for 3 years, totally blind. I taught them how to use an industrial machine, how to sew straight, how to make a product. Now they're in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, sewing for the government. They make a uniform, military uniform right now. I had trained over 30 blind people. I trained people in the prisons for 10 years, for Philocor. I trained at Philadelphia University, I taught at Dobbins High School. I asked the question to myself, who am I? Who am I? What's my mission? My mission is to train and teach and put people to work and make jobs for ourselves. Jobs, no crime. Jobs, no crime. Because you'd be too tired to do any crime. You got to go to work tomorrow. So I want to thank you, my wife, thank you. Listen, I am so honored to have a wife like this woman, Julie Welch, who has been my right arm and my left leg, almost. And she helped me produced the product. I had the idea. She put it in the plan of action. She is the push button that make things go. And I thank God for my wife, my son, who just came from Atlanta. He's now in Atlanta, but he's a designer, very fashionable young man. I never force him to wear a suit, let him be himself. And of course, my daughter Eve, she'll be in tomorrow. She's being honored, but she can't make it. She thank you for honoring us. She'll be here tomorrow. And listen, all we are is Philadelphians trying to leave something behind for the next generation. For the next generation. And at my father's funeral, a year ago at my father's funeral, I said my father left a footprint. My job is to make the footprint even bigger. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your honor. Thank you, Councilman. You look sharp, brother. Clean Councilman. Thank you so much. All right.
Council, be at ease. Resolution proclaiming April 21st, 2019, Penn Relay Carnival Day. With Dave Johnson, Scott Ward, and those accompanying them, please join the Councilwoman at the podium. And joining the Councilwoman, we have Councilman Greenlee, Councilman O, Councilman Johnson, Councilman Jones.
Mr. President, we're proud of being able to join Penn in honoring the Penn Relays. And the gentleman who will stand next to me, Glenn Bryant, who's Vice President of Government and Community Relations, I've known so long that we're like brothers and sisters. So in spite of my opponent who thinks knowing a developer is just about the wrong thing, I'm proud of my relationship. So take that and twist that too.
Don't be shy, Jane. Don't be shy.
Yeah, they tell me don't be shy. I tell you, you can only take so much crap from these people, you know. All right.
That's right.
Resolution hereby proclaiming April 21st, 2019, Penn Relay Carnival Day in honor of its 125th anniversary.
Whereas the Penn Relay Carnival is the oldest and largest track and field event hosted every year by the University of Pennsylvania at Franklin Field since the event started on April 21st, 1895. And whereas the University of Pennsylvania, located in University City, West Philadelphia, is the nation's first university, which was officially founded in 1740 and currently boasts over 20,000 undergraduate and graduate students. And
whereas the Penn Relay Carnival attracts more than 15,000 high school and college athlete participants locally, nationally, and globally that compete in over 300 events over the course of 5 days. And
whereas the Penn Relay Carnival has attracted elite runners such as Usain Bolt, Shelley Ann Frazier, and Alfred Yago, and whereas the Penn Relay Carnival brings more than 100,000 spectators from around the United States and the world each year to the city of Philadelphia to partake of the festival and the event. And
whereas the Penn Relay Carnival has been credited with popularizing the concept of relay racing under the expert leadership of Penn Relay directors Frank Ellis, George Washington Orton, H. Jamison Schwartz, Ken Dowdery, Jim Tumpany, Tim Baker, and Dave Johnson. And
whereas the Penn Relay Carnival has been held on the last week of April every year since 1895. This year will mark the 125th anniversary of the event, which has been a staple in the city of Philadelphia. And
whereas this council is proud of the legacy and recognition that the Penn Relay Carnival brings to all of us in the city of Philadelphia and has brought to Philadelphia, and recognizes and honors the millions of officials, staff, volunteers, and young athletes who have participated from around the world since its inception of the event in 1895. And
now therefore be it resolved that the Philadelphia City Council hereby proclaims April 21st, 2019 Penn Relay Carnival Day in honor of its 125th anniversary. And further resolved that an engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to the Penn Relays at the University of Pennsylvania in honor of the Penn Relay Carnival. Congratulations to everyone who keeps this great tradition going. Thank you.
And the chair recognizes Scott Ward for remarks.
Thank you.
On behalf of the trustees of the University of Pennsylvania, the members of the Division of Recreation and Intercollegiate Athletics, and all the volunteers and competitors that make Penn Relays so great and what it is today, we'd like to thank the City of Philadelphia. We'd like to thank City Council President, City Council, and particularly Councilwoman Blackwell for this incredible honor as we celebrate our historic 125th running of the Penn Relays this month. Dave?
I would like to thank City Council, particularly because in honoring Penn Relays, whether you realize it or not, Penn Relays exists and was created out of an idea that could have happened any place. But one of the great things about the Penn Relays has always been the nature of inclusion, particularly racial inclusion, from the outset in 1895. And the fact that this occurred in Philadelphia is what caused it to flourish. The fact that it grew up in the southernmost city that was north of the Mason-Dixon line is integral to the history of the Penn Relays. And when you honor the Penn Relays, please remember that you are honoring also the city of Philadelphia. Thank you.
Congratulations, Councilwoman Beatties. Thank you. Congratulations to all of our honorees. Our next order of business is communications, and the chair requested the Sergeant of Arms delivers the messages from the mayor to the chief clerk. And Mr. Decker If you'll please read those messages.
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, I am pleased to advise you that on April 2, 2019, I signed the following bills which were passed by Council at its session on March 21, 2019. Bill number 180864 and Bill number 190062. And I am transmitting for the consideration of your honorable body a resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the Model Cities urban renewal area identified by house number and street address as 2224 through 2238 North 10th Street. And a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 2831 West Harold Street located in the 5th Councilmanic District. And a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 2449 North Marston Street located in the 5th Councilmanic District. And a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 614 West Allegheny Avenue located in the 5th Councilmanic District. And a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 3411 North 7th Street, 3247 Tampa Street, 3133 Hurley Street, 2227 Waterloo Street, and 2518 North Hope Street, located in the 7th Councilmanic District. And a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 1235 West Cambria Street, located in the 5th Councilmanic District. And an ordinance amending Section 12701 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Designation of Bicycle Lanes to authorize bicycle lanes in the 1st Councilmanic District on North 10th Street from Buttonwood Street to Callowhill Street and on Columbus Boulevard from Dilworth Street to Swanson Street, and making associated changes to parking regulations within the same limits. And an ordinance amending Section 12701 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Designation of Bicycle Lanes to authorize bicycle lanes on Richmond Street from Lewis Street to Berkshire Street, and making associated changes to parking regulations within the same limits, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. You have any additional messages?
I have none, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Our next order of business is introduction of bills and resolutions, and the chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Good morning. I offer 3 resolutions this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
A privilege resolution honoring Marcine Madelman for her tireless activism on behalf of Philadelphia's educational causes and celebrating her life.
Today's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution urging the Pennsylvania General Assembly to pass Marcy's Law, which will enable Pennsylvania voters to codify the rights of crime victims and their families in the Pennsylvania Constitution.
Next week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution opposing the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and U.S. Army Corps of Engineers' proposed revised definition of waters of the United States, and urging the agencies to preserve the 2015 Clean Water Rule.
Also next week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Council President.
Hold on a second, Councilman.
Recite, but it's imperative that I state for the record that the Marcy's Law effort is a joint initiative that Councilwoman Parker and I have been working on for the past 18 months. She is indeed the co-sponsor. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Johnson. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Council President. I have to be excused to do work out in the district, but I would like to be recorded as voting aye on all bills and resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman.
You're welcome.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I introduce 2 bills.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
An ordinance amending Chapter 14516 of the Philadelphia Code entitled West Overlay District. And an ordinance amending Title 11 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Streets by amending Chapter 11700 entitled Right-of-Way Management by amending Section 11701 entitled General and Section 11705 entitled Construction, all to provide for the creation of a University City Aerial Utility Restriction Area.
For the committee, Chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I offer 1 bill on your behalf, and I offer 6 resolutions, 4 of them on your behalf.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance authorizing the Pennsylvania Commonwealth System of Higher Education doing business as Temple University, care of Kenneth Kaiser and Thomas McCreesh, to install, own, and maintain non-standard lights in the public right-of-way at 1901 through 47 North Park Avenue along the Temple University Library property frontage.
For the committee.
And a privileged resolution authorizing Council's Committee on Public Safety to hold hearings to examine the coordinated plan of the Philadelphia Police Department, Philadelphia District Attorney, 1st Judicial District of Pennsylvania, Philadelphia Sheriff's Office, and Philadelphia's Office of Domestic Violence Strategies to implement recently enacted legislative changes to removal of firearms from abusers in domestic violence cases.
This week's calendar.
And a privileged resolution honoring Coach Fran Dunphy for his outstanding career as a coach and mentor and educator.
Also on this week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 614 West Allegheny Avenue, located in the 5th Councilmanic District. And a non-privileged resolution approving the redevelopment contract to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the model city's urban renewal area identified by house number and street address as 2224 through 2238 North 10th Street. And a non-privileged resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 2831 West Harold Street, located in the 5th Councilmanic District. And a non-privileged resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 1235 West Cambria Street, located in the 5th Councilmanic District.
Those 4 resolutions just read by the Chief Clerk will be on next week's calendar. The Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilman. The Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. One privilege resolution.
Thank you, Councilman.
A privileged resolution recognizing and honoring the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society for its Roots to Reentry Boot Camp program, which provides returning citizens with the tools and support they need to obtain meaningful employment in the horticulture and landscape industries.
This week's calendar, Chair recognizes Councilwoman Kiona Sanchez.
Thank you, Council President. I have one privileged resolution and one non-privileged resolution.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
A privileged resolution recognizing and honoring the Philadelphia Children's Alliance and the Philadelphia Department of Human Services for their collaborative commitment to bring healing and justice to victims of child sexual abuse in Philadelphia, and declaring April 2019 to be Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month in the City of Philadelphia.
This week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 3411 North 7th Street, 3247 Tampa Street, 3133 Hurley Street, 2727 Waterloo Street, and 2518 North Hope Street, located in the 7th Councilmanic District.
And that will be on next week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I have one bill and 2 privileged resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Zoning and Planning by providing for adult care, clarifying daycare as child care, and related changes.
Refer to committee.
And a privileged resolution recognizing April 2019 as Autism Awareness Month in the City of Philadelphia, and honoring Campbell Smith, accomplished artist and co-founder of the Autisarian Network.
This week's calendar, Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I'm sorry.
And a privileged resolution recognizing and honoring Deborah A. McCarthy on the occasion of her retirement as Commissioner of the Philadelphia Water Department for her decades of service to the city, citizens, and waterways of Philadelphia.
Also on this week's calendar. Sorry, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have one privileged resolution that is co-sponsored by all members of City Council.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
A privileged resolution recognizing April as Limb Loss Awareness Month.
And that will be on this week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Dodd.
Morning or good afternoon, Council President. I have one privileged resolution sponsored by all members of Council.
Thank you, Councilman.
A privileged resolution in solemn recognition of the week of April 21 through April 28, 2019 as National Annual Remembrance of the 6 million Jewish martyrs who perished during the Holocaust.
And that will be on this week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gibb.
Thank you, Council President. I have no bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Taubenberger.
Thank you, Council President. Good afternoon, colleagues. I have no bills or resolutions today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer 2 bills.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Knights Road, the Pocassin Creek, and Woodhaven Road.
Refer to committee.
And an ordinance amending Section 9205 of the Philadelphia Code relating to sidewalk sales by adding new provisions prohibiting sidewalk sales in the 10th Councilmanic District and making other conforming amendments.
Also refer to committee. Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer 2 privileged resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman.
A privileged resolution recognizing and honoring Maurice German for literally going above and beyond the call of duty to rescue an animal in distress.
This week's calendar.
And a privileged resolution remembering the 10th anniversary of the 2009 L'Aquila earthquake, which occurred in the Abruzzo region of central Italy.
Also this week's calendar, Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer 1 bill and 1 non-privileged resolution.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
An ordinance amending the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Creshine Valley Drive, the SEPTA Chestnut Hill East Railroad, Mount Airy Avenue, Chew Avenue, Johnson Street, Ambler Street, Carpenter Lane, and the SEPTA Chestnut Hill West Railroad, and amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code to revise certain provisions of Chapter 14503, entitled Neighborhood Commercial Area Overlay District by amending the provisions of the Germantown Avenue NCA Overlay District.
Further committee.
And a non-privileged resolution also naming Broad Street from Venango Street to Butler Street as Reverend Dr. Leon Sullivan Way.
And that will be on next week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much, Council President. I offer 1 privileged resolution, 1 non-privileged resolution, co-sponsored by Council members Squilla, Bass, and Taubenberger.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you.
A privileged resolution celebrating the creation of the Philadelphia Flyers Warriors hockey team comprised of injured and disabled military veterans.
This week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution urging the Community College of Philadelphia's administration, faculty, and support staff to quickly resolve their contract dispute to ensure the best possible education for their students.
And that will be on next week's calendar. That concludes our introduction of bills and resolutions. And we will now move to our reports on committee. The next order of business, the chair recognizes Councilman Heenan for a report from the Committee of the Whole.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee of the Whole reports out 3 resolutions with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Decker, please read that report.
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, the Committee of the Whole, to which is referred Resolution Number 190038, entitled, A Resolution Appointing Betsy Oliphant Ross to the Board of Directors for the Old City Special Services District, and Resolution 190039, entitled, A Resolution Reappointing Richard Goldberg to the Board of Directors for the Old City Special Services District, and Resolution Number 190221, entitled, A Resolution Reappointing Michael Woodward to the Board of Directors of the City Avenue Special Services District of Philadelphia and Lower Merion. Respectfully reports it as considered the same and returns the attached resolutions to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. Resolutions number 190038, 190039, and 190221 will be placed on our final passes calendar at our next session of council. That concludes our reports on committee, and our next order of business is consideration of the calendar. There being no bills on the first reading calendar, the chair recognizes Councilman Heenan for the purpose of calling up bills and resolutions on our final passes calendar today.
Thank you, Mr. President. The following resolutions and bills are being called up for second reading and final passage calendars today. They are bill numbers 190239, 190240, and 190245. All other bills and resolutions are being held.
Thank you. Before considering the bills and resolutions on our final passes calendar, we will have our public comment session. When your name is called, you will go to the podium in the middle of the council chambers. There's a device on that podium. When the light turns green on that device, it will be your time to speak. When the light turns yellow, you will have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. When the light turns red, we'd ask that you please adhere to our guidelines and conclude your remarks. You will be given 3 minutes to testify on a bill or resolution that is on the final passage calendar today. We appreciate your anticipated cooperation. Thank you very much. Mr. Decker, call the first name.
Damari Alvarado. Commenting on 170408.
Good afternoon. Please just state your name for the record.
Damaris Alvarado.
Please proceed.
Good morning, Councilman and Councilwoman. I'm here to testify on Bill 170408. My name is Damaris Alvarado, and I'm the Executive Director of Children's Playhouse in South Philadelphia. I'm here to testify on behalf of the positive effects that the sweetened beverage tax has had on our students, families, teachers, businesses, and how it prepares children for success in primary school, possibly reducing the rate of expulsions and suspensions in schools. I have been a partner with the Mayor's Office of Education in providing high-quality education through these PHL slots since it first launched in January of 2017. We opened our first new PHL pre-K classroom of 23 to 4-year-old students in January. These students have never been exposed to childcare before in their lives. In 6 months, we were able to successfully guide and transition 10 of those students into kindergarten with the foundations they needed to succeed. In 2018 school year, we expanded our PHL pre-K seats from 20 to 60 children. We have been able to fill each of those PHL pre-K slots before our school year started and maintain a waiting list for families that were interested in joining our Children's Playhouse school family. Throughout the school year, it has been an honor to watch these students grow with knowledge and confidence. The Philadelphia pre-K program has helped offer these services to families who otherwise wouldn't have been able to obtain them. Most of these children were not previously enrolled in any child care or school setting prior, and we asked the families why. Most of the responses were that child care cost too much and they couldn't afford it. Families are working paycheck to survive, and at this time, having to choose between school and bills. We all know that bills will win, but that choice should never have to happen. The Philadelphia pre-K slots also allows us to offer families the consistency, stability, affordability of high-quality, developmentally appropriate classrooms. This includes with children with IEPs. In most areas, especially in South Philadelphia where we are located, there's an early learning center drought in general. Now let's think about children who need support: speech therapy, physical, occupational therapy, sensory accommodation, or just a quiet place to decompress. Those centers are few and far in between, not because they want to be, but because they're not able to be. The PHL pre-K slots has helped us offer these services to these families as well. Time's up?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony.
Melissa Blatz, commenting on 170408.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, member of City Council and attendees. My name is Melissa Blatz, and I am the Executive Director of Beautiful Beginnings in District 10 and District 6. I'm here to testify on Bill number 170408, a bill that seeks to do away with suspending children in grades up to 8. Beautiful Beginnings Child Care Center is dedicated to providing a safe, healthy, educational, and fun environment. We strive for exceptional child care, setting a beautiful beginning to every child's future. Our program serves children ages 6 weeks through 5 years from the Northeast Philadelphia area. The enrollment is comprised of children from mixed economic households and multicultural backgrounds. After almost 15 years of service, we have strengthened our knowledge of our community and their needs. We understand, as most child care development experts, that when the children thrive, families thrive. Since partnering with PHL Pre-K in January 2017, we have grown in our ability to provide high-quality pre-kindergarten education in very specific ways. We have furthered teachers' professional development through various credit-bearing coursework offered by PHL Pre-K. We have strengthened our curriculum training for all teaching staff and further developing their implementation of creative curriculum by expanding and offering further professional development. We have also provided a plethora of resources to the children and families we serve, including preparing for kindergarten transition. In addition to these strengths and program improvements, we have been able to increase staff wages, which directly has a positive impact on staff retention and morale, ensuring that we provide the consistent care our children need. Through the expansion of PHL Pre-K program in fall, we were awarded 20 additional slots at our Holmesburg location, which has allowed us to more than double our enrollment, thus hiring the need to hire new teachers at our Frankfurt Avenue location. This year has been a year of growth. We currently serve 35 children and their families just through PHL Pre-K, in addition to 60 children in infant toddler programming. When we were awarded the additional slots through the expansion of PHL Pre-K, we gave opportunity to 20 children that did not have any formal education program. These children started in October, and through the support of PHL Pre-K, we have completed 3 successful referrals for children who demonstrated the need for early intervention and have partnered with outside support to implement the goals and strategies and developed a formal individual education plan which will follow them as they enter kindergarten. Particularly, I want to talk about a child we served who was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. Once he enrolled in our program, he was expelled from 3 programs prior to coming to us. In the short time that we were able to provide support for his family, he gained the skills necessary to function in a typical classroom, where he actually skipped kindergarten because he met all of the kindergarten milestones necessary. He learned to interact with his peers, his teachers, and form meaningful relationships.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Len Getz. Commenting on 190238.
Good afternoon. My name is Len Getz. Good afternoon. My name is Len Getz. I rise in strong opposition to Councilman Curtis Jones's divisive resolution condemning State Representative Stephanie Borowitz's invocation at last week's General Assembly. I do believe that someone tapped with the honor and privilege to give an invocation at a government assembly, or at any assembly of a mixed audience, must consider that audience, the diversity of those in attendance, and frame an invocation that is non-denominational, to which all can relate. Government are not holes they're not churches, they're not synagogues, they're not mosques, and they should not be turned into one. While I do believe Representative Borowitz's invocation fell short of those attributes, there is no way it could be construed as Islamophobic. I listened to it many times. I didn't hear any negative references to Islam or Muslims. In fact, there were no references at all to Islam or Muslims. While it's surely noteworthy that the Pennsylvania House of Representatives was swearing in its first Muslim woman, not noting this occasion in the invocation does not make that invocation Islamophobic. Representative Borowitz said she prayed that day like she does in church. And while I don't believe that's the appropriate way to pray in the Pennsylvania General Assembly, it does tell me, and should tell everybody here, that it was not her intention to antagonize or offend freshman Representative Movita Johnson-Harrell. I think she would have delivered that invocation even if Ms. Johnson-Harrell was not being sworn in that day. But this resolution doesn't tend to be offensive, negative, and tends to be harmful. I read somewhere that Movita and Stephanie met by chance in a hallway and they hugged. This resolution strangles. It serves no positive purpose. It doesn't bring us together. It pushes us further apart. It doesn't serve to heal. It only serves to enlarge the wound, causing it to fester and linger. This resolution is nothing more than a mean-spirited, public, verbal lynching of one of your fellow representatives who made a mistake. We all make mistakes. We're all guilty of lack of good judgment, but to respond with a public condemnation that will go into the record will tarnish this assembly by showing it has no mercy and unable to forgive. I therefore call upon Councilman Curtis Jones to withdraw this resolution and spare your colleagues the embarrassment of having to vote on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe Cox. Commenting on 190238.
Good afternoon. My name is Joe Cox. 190242. I strongly support condemning the state rep. What she did was disgusting. It should be condemned by every single person. No one should be in office that acts like that. 190242. I support condemning the President administration for eliminating special funding for Special Olympics. Just about everything he does should be condemned. Now, 181063 is something else that should be condemned. It is 2019. Climate change is a fight for our lives. We should be using renewables, not oil. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Clark King. Commenting on 190239.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Clark King, and I hope to be on November's ballot for the position of City Council at Large. I want to make a quick comment about Resolution 181063, a bill. PGW is like NASA to the United States. PGW is the source of Philadelphia's strength. And I hope that there are provisions made for an exit from this contract should the contract become an encumbrance instead of a real benefit to Philadelphia. I came up to talk about Resolution 190239, an excellent resolution, and would like to see a committee appointed to liaison with the Federal Reserve Bank. I say this because taxes have a power to kill not just businesses. I inform the council members that the IRS is employing the U.S. Mail Service, sending notices demanding taxes from senior citizens living on pensions and Social Security. A retired person working as a waitress to supplement her income has her tips subject to tax laws or whatever. Construction workers and other laborers, skilled and unskilled, are subject to taxes that contribute to poverty in this city. Trillions of dollars were given to Wall Street to save the looting system, a crazy allocation of U.S. money and credit. Congress did nothing for the 36 million Americans who were forced out of their homes through the foreclosure process. There are only two classes of taxes, direct and indirect. Taxing someone's survival is not constitutional. Putting a worker in a state of criminality is a crime, and it occurs when authorities act under the color of law. The economy is suffocated from a lack of cash in circulation. Housing prices are too high in the city, putting terrific pressure on wages and putting terrific pressure on the family who is trying to purchase a decent standard of living. Taxes and poverty are political decisions. Taxes applied wrongly, excessively, are destructive to the city's economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony.
Tiffany Green. Commenting on 190239.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, is it? Okay. I came down because I do support Bill 190239 if it's going to be productive, okay? Special Committee on Poverty Reduction and Prevention. And we're saying that it needs to be also grassroots activists on this committee, not people necessarily who are running agencies or people who are, not necessarily living in the community, because poor communities know what they want. Such as Point Breeze. In 2012, we came together and we stated that we wanted to preserve our two-story community. We came up with an actionable policy that we have put forth since 2012. And because it was not in the same direction that the city officials wanted to go, that at this point, a poor community has had to suffer for the last 6 or 7 years watching their neighborhood being destroyed by 3-story urban mansions. These mansions are being built in our community, busing our blocks, okay, blocking our skyline and our view. And so recently a policy was put forth, but the language was not correct. The language was not to the point it would be protected. So therefore, at this point, the bill was put on hold. But if we're going to have actionable policies, then it can't be about what the city wants. It has to be about what the poor people want. And so at this point, we are officially requesting to Council President Clark that the bill 180973 that was requested by the poor people in Point Breeze, our homeowners and our residents, be revised, and we're asking that you, council, come back to the table and help reintroduce this policy to preserve our community. You cannot have a special committee for poor people to reduce poverty unless you're going to respect the poor people in the community and what we want. And so at this particular point, we are officially asking for this policy to preserve our community. We can no longer sit back and suffer. It is not right to put us on the back of the bus. We have no say when it comes to the height of these houses, and yet we sit there and developers come to zoning and say, well, you know, it's a matter of right. Well, it makes us feel, how does it make us feel? Okay, we're sitting on the back of the bus not having a say. We can't say anything. I officially invite Council President Clark and Councilman Johnson to come to our next zoning meeting so they can sit in there with us and watch developers say in our face that it is a matter of right to build these urban mansions in our community. And hopefully this new committee on to help reduce poverty will also be about respecting poor people in their community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Grace Lewis. Commenting on 170675.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Grace Lewis, Racelewiss. They can hear me. I don't want to put my mouth where everybody else put their mouth. I pay taxes. My 2019 taxes are current and paid, and I vote. I want to piggyback on some of what Tiffany said. You are allowing these contractors and the architects to come into our area without without surveying the residents. I live across from a new structure that has been stopped now because they have some violations. Before they were stopped, I called L&I several times. I was told that it took at least 10 days from the time that I called them and they came out. They constructed whatever violations they had time to construct in those 10 days. Now that monstrous, ugly, cheap building looks into my bedroom. That violates my pursuit of happiness and the privacy of my bedroom. I've been in here before and I'm going to say it again. I do not want curtains. When I walk into my bedroom, I want to see the sky, whether it's raining or sunny. I want to see the airplanes ascending and descending to and from the airport. When I lay my head down at night, I want to look at that star in the Big Dipper winking and blinking at me. Because you take so long to respond to the citizens, they had time to build that. Not only did they have a stop order, which was placed last Monday, last Tuesday they were inside the building. Last Wednesday they were inside the building. So Wednesday I decided to call my councilman's office and then the police showed up. We are not trying to stop progress in the city. But you cannot progress without the input of the citizens. We're not Indians. You're not on some unoccupied land. Again, I pay taxes and I vote. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, ma'am.
Minal Raval. Commenting on 181063.
Good afternoon.
Yes, hi. Again, my name is Minal Raval. I'm here today in opposition to bill number 181063. That's PGW's proposed LNG facility. You may have noticed that I've been here each week speaking or supporting someone speaking against this bill. Last week, you heard from Abby Levy, with the Global School Strike for Climate. Some of the students from Friends Select that were here were at the Global School Strike as well. I ask you, when are you going to acknowledge the elephant in the room? I'm talking about the climate crisis, the crisis that's affecting our air and water quality, the crisis that's affecting the most poor, the black and the brown in each community, the crisis that demands that we stop planning new fossil fuel projects. I also know that most of you are up for re-election. We could support you so much wholeheartedly if you showed an initiative, even some interest in solving the climate crisis. Some new at-large candidates, such as Adrian Rivera Reyes, give us hope. Did you read his op-ed in the Philly Voice? How, you ask, how can you support us? How can you lead on climate? We've developed a climate action platform that my colleague Tanya Seaman has shared with each of you. You could use this document for starters. Missed that email? Please see me afterwards. You could also review the testimony offered by the public at the November 29th hearing organized by the Committee of the Environment last year. There are quite a few good ideas there. Also, for starters, you could publicly state that you're against this project and that you plan to vote no on Bill 181063. Since we're given only 3 minutes to speak here, we've taken to the airwaves by producing our own radio show, Philly Talks Climate. Last week on the show, we talked about other U.S. cities making commitments to renewable energy. This week, we'll talk about using less energy overall and the jobs potential from this. Again, the show is Philly Talks Climate. You can hear us on Fridays at noon on Philly Cam's WPPM 106.5 FM. Also, if you've missed the shows, you can find details and you can hear it again at phillytalksclimate.wordpress.com. We need your leadership. Who wants to work with us? Come be our hero, please.
Thank you for your testimony.
Joe Danahill.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. This is an official decree of the people in writ mandamus quo warranto, and as such requires immediate action and remedy. Every week, council, mayor, governor, and others transfer private property to government, probably illegally. Over 200 years ago, in this very city, the people created government to protect and defend their God-given rights. Secure houses, persons, and effects were contractually and constitutionally required by the people of their government. With oath of office required, the people required before you could serve the people, there were clear penalties for refusing your sworn duty to act. Enforcement of these laws is required by those sworn to uphold, protect, and obey Constitution and laws. Why has no official been arrested for the theft of my home? Why has no official been arrested for the theft of my just compensation? Attorney General McSwain correctly identified that failure to perform a no-do-your task is illegal and causes great harm. Military people know this action as treason. When can the people trust their officials to respect and comply with the Constitution and laws? The Constitutions require immediate remedy of this breach of law, breach of clause, breach of fiduciary duty. Your oath of office requires you to act or face prison. 42 U.S.C. 1982, 1983, 1985, 1986, 1987. 18 U.S.C. 241, 242, 2381, 2384. PA Constitution, Article 1, Sections 1 through 28, and 26 PA CSA, 703, 705, 708, 709, 711, 712, 713, 716, 902, and other laws listed in SCOTUS, 1589-65, 141330, 144056 appear violated. I call on the federal and Commonwealth governments to perform their constitutional obligations, to investigate and prosecute all involved in the theft and illegal deed transfer of my home. 1038 West Wyoming Avenue. The denial of God-given 42 U.S.C. 1982 property rights for 25 years is egregious, extraordinary, oath-violating, and requires immediate remedy. A just government must obey the rule of law. This color of law government must have its charter of government revoked until a constitutionally compliant government is installed. Public servants cannot refuse their sworn duty to act any more than a fireman can refuse to fight a fire. The sovereign people require oath constitutional law be enforced, and jail is required for all who violate oath constitutional law. I remind council, every week, 4 years, it takes a lot of cooperation to create and allow this monumental corruption.
Thank you for your testimony.
There are no other speakers on the public comment list, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. That concludes our public comment session. Mr. Decker, 190-239.
A resolution authorizing the creation of a special committee on poverty reduction and prevention to hold hearings to propose and implement actionable policies and programs that substantively prevent and alleviate poverty in every Philadelphia neighborhood.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Jannie Sanchez for a motion.
On your behalf, Council President, I move for its adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution 190-239 is adopted. Mr. Decker, 190-240.
A resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 2511 North Orkney Street, located in the 7th Councilmanic District.
Chair again recognizes Councilwoman Jannie Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. President. A copy of the amendment has been properly circulated to all members of council. I move the amendment to the resolution 190-240 be adopted.
Thank you. The amendment has been moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. 190-240 has been amended. It will be on our second reading and final passage calendar at our next session of council. Mr. Decker, 190-245.
A resolution initiating action to continue the East Passyunk Avenue Business Improvement District beyond its termination date in an area that generally includes both sides of East Passyunk Avenue from the south side of Federal Street to the east side of South Broad Street, certain blocks of streets that intersect that portion of East Passyunk Avenue, both sides of South Broad Street from the north side of McKean Street to the north side of Snyder Avenue, and the west side of South Broad Street from the south side of Mifflin Street to the north side of McKean Street, and for which East Passyunk Avenue Business Improvement District Incorporated, a Pennsylvania nonprofit corporation, is a neighborhood improvement district management association for the district.
Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Move for the adoption of the resolution.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. 190-245 is adopted. Mr. Decker, do you have any additional resolutions?
A resolution honoring Marcine Madelman for her tireless activism on behalf of Philadelphia's educational causes and celebrating her life, introduced by Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Yes, Mr. President, Marcine Madelman was a giant and a champion for literacy in our city, and I would ask that we stand in a moment of silence.
Thank
Please.
you. We stand. Standing vote. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing Council's Committee on Public Safety to hold hearings to examine the coordinated plan of the Philadelphia Police Department, Philadelphia District Attorney, 1st Judicial District of Pennsylvania, Philadelphia Sheriff's Office, and Philadelphia's Office of Domestic Violence Strategies to implement recently enacted legislative changes to removal of firearms from abusers in domestic violence cases, introduced by Councilman Greenlee.
Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring Coach Fran Dunphy for his outstanding career as a coach, mentor, and educator, introduced by Councilman Greenlee.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. And that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and honoring the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society for its Roots to Reentry Boot Camp program, which provides returning citizens with the tools and support they need to obtain meaningful employment in the horticulture and landscape industries, introduced by Councilman Jones.
Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and honoring the Philadelphia Children's Alliance and the Philadelphia Department of Human Services for their collaborative commitment to bring healing and justice to victims of child sexual abuse in Philadelphia, and declaring April 2019 to be Child Abuse Awareness Month and Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month in the city of Philadelphia. Introduced by Councilwoman Quinona Sanchez.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Quinona Sanchez.
Thank you, Council President. I thank all my council colleagues for supporting this initiative annually. Thank you. I move for its adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing April 2019 as Autism Awareness Month in the city of Philadelphia, and honoring Campbell Smith, accomplished artist and co-founder of the Autisarian Network, introduced by Councilman Green.
Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and honoring Deborah A. McCarthy on the occasion of her retirement as Commissioner of the Philadelphia Water Department for her decades of service to the city, citizens, and waterways of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilman Green.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Green.
I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing April as Limb Loss Awareness Month, introduced by Councilwoman Parker.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution in solemn recognition of the week of April 21 through April 28, 2019 as the National Annual Remembrance of the 6 million Jewish martyrs who perished during the Holocaust, introduced by Councilman Dom.
Chair recognizes Councilman Dom.
Mr. President, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and honoring Maurice German for literally going above and beyond the call of duty to rescue an animal in distress, introduced by Councilman Squilla.
Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution remembering the 10th anniversary of the 2009 Aquila earthquake, which occurred in Abruzzo region of central Italy, introduced by Councilman Squilla.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution celebrating the creation of the Philadelphia Flyers Warriors hockey team, comprised of injured and disabled military veterans, introduced by Councilman O.
Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
There are no other resolutions on the final passage calendar, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Any speeches on behalf of the minority? Any speeches on behalf of the majority? Chair recognizes Councilman Dowd.
Good afternoon, Council President and colleagues. April marks Financial Literacy Month, and in recognition of this month, the Federal Reserve Bank is offering a free registration for its summer financial literacy course. Financial literacy is fundamental in education. After visiting over 50 schools this past 3 years, I found that teachers are excited about financial literacy and want to teach the skills within their classrooms. During my visits, I often hear about the cost of the program as well in celebration of Financial Literacy Month, and to ease the cost burden on teachers in the school district, the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia will provide free registration, free training, free meals, and free course materials for Philadelphia's public high school teachers. The 5-day professional development program, all free, acquaints teachers with a personal finance course that could be taught in the classroom for a semester or the entire year. The Federal Reserve Bank is providing Philadelphia teachers with an amazing opportunity. So this morning I wrote a letter to Dr. Haidt challenging him to get as many teachers as possible enrolled in the free training program. Registration for teachers to sign up for the free training is open from now until May 24th. Training takes place the second week of June and allows teachers to bring financial curriculum to their classroom starting in the 2019-2020 school year. If anyone wants more information, please contact my office and we'll provide the registration link. Thank you for your support of this important initiative. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, on last Saturday, we kicked off our 2019 series of budget briefings and town hall meetings in the 9th Councilmanic District. I want to say a huge thank you to all of the residents of the 9th who came out, and wanted to remind you all, especially those who were not able to attend that meeting. A second one is being held tonight at the West Oak Lane Senior Citizen Center in West Oak Lane. At 7 p.m., but this year it's at the St. Athanasian School Hall, which is located at 7105 Lime Kiln Pike. And to all of our seniors at the West Oak Lane Senior Center, we hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. Just want to thank all my colleagues for participating this morning in our annual Lighted Up Blue for Autism Speaks. April is Autism Awareness Month. When my son was diagnosed with autism, 1 out of every 200 children were diagnosed on the autism spectrum. Now it's 1 out of every 59 children, 1 out of every 37 boys, and 1 out of 151 girls. Through the leadership of this body and support of this body, we have supported the Philadelphia Autism Project, which over the past 4 years has been able to receive about $1 million to provide resources and information to people in the greater Philadelphia region regarding autism. We've also been able to support 60 different community grassroots organizations that provide resources and information to communities all throughout the city of Philadelphia. And through the Philadelphia Autism website, about half of the people who have been identified on autism spectrum in our region have been touched by the website. So the website is phillyautismproject.org. I want to thank you for your support. Thank you for all those that have a learning or physical difference like autism. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Kiona Sanchez.
Thank you. Before we join PAL at lunch, because I do love my PAL centers in the district, I wanted to invite everyone this morning. Mayor Kenny and I were joined by Councilwoman Helen Gim, Councilwoman Blackwell, and Councilman Green, launched the Philly Municipal ID program. We have the Municipal ID staff in room 576. I want to thank my council colleagues. I know we started this journey in 2014, and after the election of number 45, really were concerned about how we roll out a program. The beauty about being delayed is that you can learn and adapt best practices, and we want to thank our sister cities in New York and Chicago and others for helping inform this process. I want to encourage all of my council colleagues as they do events and as they launch this summer, to really help the city reach out to historically marginalized communities, language minority communities, our vulnerable communities, our students, as students begin to work. This ID will be available to them, and LGBTQ community. Part of what we purchased was mobile units, so they will be literally able to come to your community event, set up, and people can walk out of there with their materials. So I want to thank all of you, and particularly the mayor and his team, for putting the financial resources to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I was remiss, and I was reminded by a fellow member and graduate of the University of Virginia that our Cavaliers are in the Final Four. We have an opportunity for redemption from last year's debacle, and I was reminded last year by various friends, colleagues, even a congressman sent me a text regarding our loss last year. So hopefully Wahoo Wah will reign supreme this weekend and Monday. I probably just jinxed it by saying it, but thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. That concludes our speeches on behalf of the minority and the majority. And with that, I call Councilwoman Reynolds Brown for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that council stand adjourned until Thursday, April 11th, 2019 at 10 a.m. All right.
Thank you. It's been moved and probably second that council stand adjourned until Thursday, April 11, 2019, 10 a.m. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, thank you all very much.